Hi guys, Freddy here, welcome back to a very artificially lit desktop for another rules breakdown, and this week I'd like to do the 1984 West End Games and Greg Costikyan role-playing game, The Price of Freedom. Well, first of all, I'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas, because today's video will be coming out on Christmas Day 2020. So, have a good one everybody. This has been my little Christmas present to myself, a reward, because I've wanted The Price of Freedom since I first saw it on game shelves back in 1984. But it sold out so quick, and it didn't perform terribly well because it was considered a bit edgy at the time. So I never managed to get a copy until recently. So here we are, my Christmas present to myself, and a rules breakdown as a Christmas present to use. So we've discarded the box, because while the artwork is absolutely lovely, it's totally irrelevant to the rules. Now, for skills, if we swap it out here for the example characters. So we've got the characters here with their attributes, and then on the back of the character sheets, we've got their skills. So we can see that Billy Barstow here, he's got a strength of 13, a manual dexterity of 12, agility of 8, alertness of 10, a constitution of 7. And as you can see, he's got skills here: hand-to-hand combat 12, melee weapons 8, bargain 8, instrument guitar 14, language English 19, and so on and so forth. And in Price of Freedom, like Paranoia, it's just a matter of rolling a d20 and getting it underneath your skill. So, Billy here has a driving skill of 14. So he is trying to drive a car. Well, first of all, if he's given time, he can automatically succeed, for his skill is over 10. Any skill you have 10 over, when you're given a time, you're allowed to succeed automatically. Very much like the taking 10 in 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons, but this one, it just happens. But if you're under any pressure, so he's trying to drive while somebody's shooting at him, he needs to make a driving test. And basically he needs to roll a d20 under his driving skill. So his skill is 14, he rolls a d20, he rolls a 7 there, so he succeeds. Now, initiative. Well, there is no initiative roll. While you might expect to make a dexterity roll, for example, and go in order of that, everything in The Price of Freedom happens at the same time. So there's a declaration phase where everyone declares what they're doing. Billy here is shooting Maria, for example. And then, once everybody has declared, the Games Master declares all the NPC actions, the players declare all of theirs, then everything happens at the same time. So if Billy is shooting Maria and Maria is shooting Billy, it is possible for them both to hit and kill each other, because those actions are happening simultaneously. Now, most of the time you get a single action, but depending on your weapon, you can get multiple actions. So, looking here, he has a rifle, which is fire type A. So he has automatic fire. Maria has a pistol with A and R. I'm sorry, A isn't automatic, it's aimed. R is rapid, and there's a third type, B, for burst fire. An aimed shot takes your entire round, and you can make one shot per round. Rapid fire, you can move and shoot, or you can shoot twice in a round. And burst fire, you can fire up to 5 times. This is all at targets which are basically in the same area, or in hexes which are next to each other if you're using the combat map. But that's the only multiple actions you get, unless you spend hero points, where you get to take basically 2 rounds for spending 1 hero point. Now, for combat, basically you're just rolling under your combat skill. You take into account any damage, which we'll go over later. You've got range penalties, which are based on the weapon. But if Billy here is firing his rifle, he has a skill of 12. He fires, he rolls an 18, he fails. If he rolls less than a 12, he succeeds. And that's as simple as combat is. There's no dodging. There's not really any multiple actions you can get, apart from based on your weapon. There's nothing too complex in there at all. You simply are rolling a dice under your skill to see whether you hit. So, damage is based on the weapon. So, Billy here is firing a rifle. And the damage is in Freedom File D. It's not actually in the rulebooks at all, although there's other information about guns in the rulebooks. But the damage is only in Freedom File D. There's no one place which has all the information about a gun in one place. Now, the small arms combat table. We can see that a rifle, if he rolls a 19 or a 20, then his gun jams. I forgot to mention before, a 20 is an automatic failure in anything anyway, and a 1 is an automatic success. But if he rolls a 19 or a 20, then his gun jams. You can see that shotguns, for example, will jam on a 17 or higher. It's got 5 ammo, it's only aimed. The ranges are there, 0 to 5 meters, 6 to 15, 16 to 50. And then we've got the damage types. So we're rolling a d20 again. There's my d20. And if we get a 1 to 6, then the target is stunned. 7 to 11, they take a light wound. 12 to 15, they take a heavy wound. 16 to 19, they're incapacitated. And on a 20, they're killed. So we roll the dice. We roll an 11, which for the rifle is a light wound. So Billy shooting Maria, she gets a light wound. So she's going to lose some of her skill, but we'll go over that in the wound section. Now she's firing a pistol back, so the damage is very slightly different. So we roll a d20, and we get a 1. So she's only getting a stun on Billy. And that's as simple as damage is. You can get a kill, an incapacitate, a heavy, a light, or a stun. And that's the wound categories. Now, for health, if we turn to page 16 of the Player's Handbook, we can see damage. Stun. When a character is stunned, he immediately falls prone. Stunned characters can't do anything for the rest of the combat round in which they're stunned. A character stunned while moving immediately drops to the ground and stops moving. Well, given all actions take simultaneously, I think they mean that it happens the next round. So you don't get to act in the next combat round. Lightly wounded. A lightly wounded character is stunned in the round he is wounded. In addition, place a light wound marker on the counter. Whenever a lightly wounded character uses a skill, his skill number is reduced by 2 before the roll is made. Heavily wounded. Heavy wounds are just like light wounds, except use a heavy wound marker. Skills used by heavily wounded characters are halved. When a heavily wounded character moves, his movement allowance is halved. If a heavily wounded character suffers another wound, light or heavy, he is incapacitated. I'm sorry, I missed the light wound. If a lightly wounded character suffers a second wound, light or heavy, he is heavily wounded. Incapacitated. When a character is incapacitated, he must immediately make a Constitution or Tribute roll. If he fails the roll, he is unconscious. If he makes the roll, he remains conscious. An unconscious character may not move, use skills, or take any actions. A conscious incapacitated character may perform one action if he were heavily wounded. At the conclusion of this action, he falls unconscious. So you get to perform a heroic sort of final action before you collapse. And death. Kill characters are out of the game. Game Master may decide that kill character counters should remain on the map. A dead character can be dragged just like an incapacitated one. So that's it. Basically, you can be killed outright. But apart from that, wounds stack up until you become incapacitated, but incapacitated leads to death. Now, advancement is dealt with on page 9. At the end of each game session, the Games Master may award you additional skill points if your character performs particularly well. Sometimes it will allow you to choose which skills to spend the points. Sometimes it will tell you the skill points must be allocated to specific skills. E.g., you gain 2 points, which must be spent on combat skills. You may immediately spend the points on any of the skills you already know, or learn new skills. Points can be divided up amongst skills any which way you like. So, basically you get skill points and you just add them directly to your skills. It's as simple as that. So that is a very quick breakdown of the rules of the Price of Freedom. It's a very simple game. It is somewhere between a war game and a role-playing game with its rules, keeping them simple enough that you can run quick, easy battles, or you can run individual combats. So you can roll just 2 dice for each attack, 1 to see whether you hit, and 1 to see the level of damage. Then you easily figure out whether the person's wounded or incapacitated or even dead. And you can move through a lot of actions of combat very quickly that way, which is probably why the burst fire works that way, with 5 attacks per round. Anyway, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough. Please enjoy your Christmas if you are still watching this on Christmas Day. Otherwise, I hope you had a fantastic day. Please like, subscribe, and comment below, as it does me massive favours with the YouTube algorithm. But most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.